Working during nursing school. Should you do it? Can you do it? Did I do it? What are the best jobs you could have? What are some of the worst? What does the schedule maybe look like that would suit this program the best? We're gonna talk about all of that in today's video. If you're new here, welcome, I'm Liz. I'm a family nurse practitioner now, but like over a decade ago. Isn't that insane? I went to nursing school. I went to an accelerated nursing program and I did work during it. So I feel like I have some insight from there. I've seen lots of other people work through their nursing programs, so I've gained some tips from them. So today I get to share them with you. All right, let's dive right into it. So question number one, can you work during nursing school? This is a question I get asked all the time. A lot of nursing schools like you to sign this contract that says either you can work only a certain number of hours or you can't work at all if it's an accelerated program or something along those lines. And I mean, if you sign it, I'll be really honest, I signed one of those and then I worked anyways because I had to. You can work during nursing school. Is it easy? No. Does it complicate an already fairly rigorous and challenging experience? Yes, but you gotta do what you gotta do here, friends. Which maybe this would be a good time to say, this was just my experience with it. So keep that in the back of your mind, that my situation doesn't apply to everybody's and your situation is unique to you. So maybe you have to work, maybe you don't have to work, and that's awesome. So just keep that in the back of your mind. I really do think that with a little bit of tweaking, if nursing school is your dream, even if you have to work full-time, you can get it done. You might have to change up your schedule or your job a little bit to be a little bit more flexible. But if this is your dream, you can absolutely do it. Do not let the fact that you have to work stop you from that, because I've heard so many people who say, oh, I want to do that, but I have to work full-time. People have worked full-time in nursing school. It is not fun, but we survived. We're here to tell the tale. It is a temporary thing and you just got to keep telling yourself that. Okay, so now we've kind of established, can you? Yes. The amount that you can will obviously vary based on the type of studier you are, how much time you need to dedicate to it. Do you have children? What else do you have going on in your life? How much help do you have around your house? You know, maybe you do have 3 kids, but your mom lives down the street and your spouse is super duper involved and is all on board to pick up a lot of the slack so that you can work full time and go to school or even work part-time, whatever you need to do. It kind of just depends on your unique situation. And like I said, it is challenging. Nursing school is by no means impossible. It's just very, very time consuming. There's lots of exams, lots of papers, lots of just studying because the sheer volume of information is a ton. So it just requires time and you need to be able to give it that time. So it's pretty much almost a full-time job in itself. And you know yourself, can you balance both? Will you go absolutely insane if you are working every single day of the week, whether you're in school or working? You know, are you the type of person that can plow through? I tend to be more of someone who's just like, I'm just gonna get it done. Other people do need like days of rest, which is very normal and totally fine. And do not beat yourself up if you can't just go like hardcore for a year and a half and then not have any time off. That's not natural, but there's some of us out there who are just really good at, you know, self-punishment. So there we go. Can you work? Yes. Now, the next question I usually get is, should I work? Like, would it look bad if I don't? Because I mean, if you don't have to work, like, don't work. Yes, there are some positives that come along with it. Like say you're getting a CNA or a tech job on a floor as a nursing assistant, you're gonna get yourself into the door of that hospital that maybe you wanna work at. So that's a possible benefit, but maybe you could just work like 1 or 2 weekend days a month. You get all the benefit and you still have plenty of time for activities or like a social life or sleep, something, sanity, exercise, all that other stuff you get when you're not trying to juggle full-time everything. A lot of this question is just going to be dictated by your life though. Should you work is usually dictated by, do you have to? Now I do think there is some value in having some kind of a part-time job, even if it's very, very part-time, because that just shows your work history and shows a future employer like, hey, I've held down a job for X number of years. I have been employable. I know what it's like to be employed. That looks good. But there are certainly nurses I know that came in with zero, like they hadn't really ever had a job. Nursing was their first job and they got hired. But I would say most people usually do have some kind of a part-time job just for some kind of income. And in a couple minutes, I'll explain some jobs that I think would be preferable over others if you are looking to become a nurse. All right, let's just talk about what my experience was, because sometimes it's helpful to just hear what other people did. I don't recommend you do what I did necessarily unless you have to. So I did an accelerated nursing program. It ran Monday through Thursday. We were in clinical like 2 days a week. And then the other 2 days we were on campus for the whole like 8 or 9 hours, sometimes 10-hour days. So those were my Monday through Thursdays. I needed to work because I had taken out loans, but they weren't quite enough to cover everything, and I didn't want to take out even more because I was already at a pretty hefty number, and I needed to eat and like keep a roof over my head. Hello, job. I worked pretty much full-time for most of my accelerated nursing program. I worked Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I was a waitress, and then at the end I was a barista. So and kind of like balanced those two. And I worked doubles, pretty much like doing like 12-hour shifts. And it worked well because then I got in my hours Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday through Thursday, I solely dedicated to school. Now I will tell you, and my husband will tell you because he lived through the carnage, that's a rough way to go, guys. Not having any days off is brutal. Is it doable? I mean, yes. I cried a lot. I was probably pretty snippy and very stressed. And there were a few weeks in there where I just like around finals or exams where I backed off and I said, whoa, 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 like this is not doable. And I could reduce my hours like those weeks because a restaurant job is very flexible. Did not really have free time. I did not have much of a social life. Like I said, there weren't really hobbies happening. It was pretty much just like, I knew this would only last 18 months and then I would be done. And I'm the type of person that my personality can be intense. So I was like, we're just gonna do this and get through it. I do not recommend that. My other people who did not do that had a much better mental life balance. Now, in terms of what a lot of other people were doing, a lot of people did have jobs. Most people had some kind of a part-time job. Some had none, and they obviously had the best life, but most worked 20-ish hours, and that seemed very manageable in an accelerated nursing program. So in a regular nursing program, that would be even more manageable. You know what I mean? Again, it just comes down to super fine tuning. Time management is huge, and knowing that this will end, we'll just get through it. So how many hours-ish would be ideal to work if you're gonna work during nursing school? I would say somewhere between 15 and 20. You know, in that part-time range, that's gonna be the sweet spot where it's like 2 days a week of work, or if, like 3 if they're shorter shifts. I think that would be very, very manageable. And that's what many, many nursing students that I've talked to have done. Is okay, let's talk about jobs really quick, because this is a huge one. Your ability to work is going to largely be influenced by the type of job you have. Like I said, I worked in a restaurant. I cannot recommend working in a restaurant enough. For if you're in nursing school, it is very flexible. You can kind of pick up shifts if you're having a slow week, you can drop some if you're having a busy week. Most of your shifts are going to be at night or not super early in the morning, so you can actually get some studying done first thing in the morning, or you can even go to class all day and then just work in the evening. You just get handed cash at the end of your day. Who doesn't like that? And you have a lot of weekend availability because most of your nursing stuff is going to be happening during the week. Another really great one is working as a tech or a nursing assistant, whatever you want to call it, on a unit. A lot of hospitals will hire nursing students as techs on the weekends so that their regular techs can have the weekends off. And usually you have to do like 2 to 3 weekend days a month. You can do more if you want, absolutely. But that's a really great way to get in the door here. And the hours are kind of weird. So maybe if you only have morning classes and they're done by 1, you could get to the hospital for an evening shift and do 3 to 11, and that would be fine. And you can do weekends, yada, yada, yada. I would be very cautious about doing night shift if you're doing this, just because of how the days flip. Unless you're doing it on the weekends, then it doesn't matter as much. You can kind of recover and enter your work week, but it would be kind of hard if you were trying to do some in the middle of the week, you know, class on Wednesday, go to work Wednesday into Thursday, and then still have to like go to class again on Thursday. You could see how that could kind of get dicey. Weekends, different story. Lots of our techs did nights on the weekends while they were in nursing school, and they did just fine. Your sleep schedule is just a little bit funky. Another job I did really briefly was I was a barista. Again, still in the food industry. I think anything food industry related is really helpful. One, it gives you a lot of service skills so that you know how to kind of manage chaos and prioritize things. Same with your nursing assistant job, you're gonna learn a lot of those skills there. But the hours are good for it because usually nursing school is like in the morning and then you could go there at night. Even if you're doing shorter shifts, then it chunks it up even more and makes it way easier. So something to consider. You want jobs that are flexible like that. It's going to be very, very challenging if you're going from a 9 to 5 to fit nursing school in there, unless your school is specifically designed for people working traditional hours. I have never heard of this. You would have to have all your clinical on the weekend, and I don't know if you only did like night classes, maybe. I've heard of prereqs doing that, where you go to prereqs at nighttime. But if you have a job that's 9 to 5, I would really look at your nursing program and make sure that's gonna mesh with that. I did not know anyone that it did mesh. All the 9 to 5 people had to quit and find more flexible jobs that worked more on the weekends and in the evening. So that is definitely something you need to look ahead at and say, is this gonna work, or do I need to start finding some other options out there? Okay, now you kind of got a picture of the whole working situation while in nursing school. My biggest tip if you're taking this on is just get really organized. Get yourself a really good planner, figure out everything in advance, request the time off around when you have big exams or anything coming up, because the last thing you want to do is have to go to work when you have this huge test. Make sure you have that time to kind of take a few days off. If you're working full time, something I really recommend is if you have vacation time, is rather than taking vacation, scatter your days. So take like 1 day off every other week or something when you know you're gonna have a test. That's just so much easier for your mental health, rather than taking like a huge chunk all at once. Sacrifice your spring break having that off for the sake of a little bit more sanity for the whole semester. But being really organized here and planning ahead, knowing when you're gonna need time off, or you have a work event, all of that, it just requires a few more moving pieces, but you absolutely can do it. Now, things to avoid when you're working. This is probably not the time to work a bunch of overtime, friends. Probably not the time, unless you're, I don't even know, a superhuman or something. If you're normally like a 150%er at work, you're gonna at least just need to tone it back to like 100, you know. If your boss is usually used to you working, you know, crazy, weird extra hours, this is not the time for that. You're gonna have to just learn to say no, okay? No. No, I can't pick up that extra shift. No, I can't stay late. No, I can't do, gotta take care of you during this time period because you got enough going on. So just, you gotta learn to say no, which I know is challenging because I'm a yes sayer. And I had to learn. I learned the hard way by just like totally crashing and burning. And then you learn really quick. So don't get to that point. Just say, I'm so sorry, like, I can't. And the last thing here is, guys, if you need to take out a little bit more of a loan, I know it's not ideal, but if it's going to save like your marriage, or you have children and you need to be with them, like, come on. I have seen people do, you know, their like relationships fall apart and all this other stuff just go wrong because they didn't want to take out any loans. And it's just like, it probably would be worth the 10 grand or whatever in the long run to have like saved your relationship maybe, or to have a little bit more time with your kids. I'm not saying like go out and take out all the loans, but just think about that. Like, you really have to take a step back sometimes and think, is this sacrifice of me not taking out the loan and working and having no time like worth it, or could we maybe adjust things a little? Now obviously some people, like, you just have to work, that's not really an option, but if it's an option, just keep that in the back of your mind. It's not a competition to see who can take out the least amount of loans, or like who can work the most and sleep the less. Like, that's not healthy. What I did, I mean, that was not life healthy. It's not a competition, guys. You have to do what's best for you. It will be okay. I promise. If you are working during it, it'll be okay. 1 day at a time is the way you're gonna get through this. Just like figure out what you can do in 1 day, get it done, move on to the next day, and don't look too much further ahead because it can get kind of overwhelming, and know it will end. That is, if I could tell you anything, it will end. It will not always be like this. You will not be working like 80-hour weeks forever. It is completely exhausting, so just cut yourself a little bit of slack and hang in there. You got this. And that pretty much wraps everything up. Hopefully you have a little bit more clarity on can you work, should you work, all that good stuff. If you want to see a video all about how I kind of balanced life, work, school, and my family, I will leave it linked at the end of this video. And if this type of thing is helpful for you, consider subscribing. I put out content videos on usually nursing and NP stuff every Tuesday. And on Saturdays, I have a vlog documenting my life in and out of work as a family nurse practitioner. We can also go be friends over on Instagram, where I post lots of polls, what I'm doing at work, fun things I'm learning over there, and just like life's goodies. We can message, it's a good time. Question of the day is just, did you work while you were in nursing school, or while you were in school of any kind? How did you balance it? How much did you work? And did you think it was feasible? Just go write me in a novel in the comment section is pretty much what I'm asking. But really, I think it's helpful to see what other people have kind of gone through. So let me know down below what your experiences were. I think we can all learn so much from each other. Remember, you got this. Have a fabulous rest of your week, and I'll see you next time. Bye.